It's everyone's favorite time of the year. Awards. That's right, friends. Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're well. We have the true #1 awards ceremony in the world. It's the Fragrantica Awards, and they have some really good stuff to talk about. Some interesting stuff that I think we can really get some good information from. So you want to stick around so that you're in the know. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the best men's fragrance of the year, the best men's fragrance of all time, the best dupe brand in the world, also known as a clone house, the fragrance that women love on men more than any other. So if you're looking for the absolute pinnacle of what the women like, got that too. Best fresh fragrance, best iris fragrance, and what? The best fragrance of all freaking time? Yes, all of it. So I'm gonna have a link in the description in case you wanna check out the awards, the 9th annual awards. But bros, we're gonna dive straight in because there's a lot to talk about in so little time. I really cherish the time we have here together, you and me. So how about we hit the best men's fragrance of 2025? It's a good place to start, right? The absolute best thing that came out this year. Numero uno. But this is where things always get kind of weird when it comes to Fragrantica and their awards. You see, they allow fragrances from 2024 and 2025 to be nominated. And right now, the fragrance that is winning for the best release of 2025 is Boss Bottled Absolute, which came out in 2024. Now, I kind of get it. I kind of do. Because just as an example, right? The One Parfum. This fragrance came out right at the very end of 2025. So obviously this is not gonna have been out long enough that people could vote for this as like fragrance of the year, right? Because not enough people are gonna smell this before the year is over. Because it came out in like the middle of December. It was kind of a weird time to launch, but that's when it launched. So it makes sense that they would say, okay, you can carry that over to the next year. You know, you can be eligible for 2026's release of the year. But then what ends up happening every single time is something that came out like at the beginning of the year, the previous year, like Bottled Absolute, ends up winning fragrance of the year. But let's say that one doesn't count, okay? That one doesn't count. That's in first right now, but it doesn't count. The next fragrance, that one was released in 2025. It's Absolute Aventus. Technically, this is Absolute Aventus 2025, but Absolute Aventus originally came out in 2023. So I don't know that that one counts either. Let's keep going. Liquid Broom, that's in third place right now. That came out in 2024. Let's just keep it going. 2025, Dior Homme Intense is the next one. But that's just Dior Homme Intense, just in a new presentation. So that one doesn't count either. What's the next one? L'Homme Ideal Parfum, that came out in 2024. Outlands 2024. Myself, Le Parfum 2024. Supremacy Collector's Edition 2024. Do you see where this is a cluster? Which means that the true fragrance release of the year, the first one that is a 2025 release, that is not just a re-release of something, is Angel Share Paradise, which is a unisex fragrance. So we're gonna go past that one, which gets us to Gentleman Society Ombre, which is the first fragrance. This is the 10th one on here, but it is the first fragrance that is both made and marketed towards men that is actually new for 2025. Holy crap. To be fair, I think that in my top 10 releases of the year that I had that one as my favorite one. So I'm just gonna go with that. So you bros wanna know what the #1 best release of 2025 is? It's that, Gentleman Society Ombre. Now, best unisex fragrance of 2025, easy peasy lemon squeezy. The first one is Angel Share Paradise, which guess what? Did come out in 2025 and is unisex. Boom. And one thing I find interesting about this, Angel Share Paradise and Angel Share on the Rocks, both of those came out in 2025, but neither one of those actually hit that hard. Now, I'm not saying they were failures or anything, it's just they did not make the same impact that the original Angel Share did, which, to be fair, is really hard to do. But when the original Angel Share hit, man, it was like a meteor hitting Earth and wiping out the dinosaurs. It was just like everybody took notice. Angel Share Paradise, people like that one for the most part, but Angel Share on the Rocks, it's like tapered off, you know, like each one that came after, it's like, So we'll have to see if the next flanker, because you know there's gonna be another one, if that one can kind of regain the momentum, or if it hits even lighter than Angel Share on the Rocks did. And if that's the case, then you might see Angel Share flankers just stop being a thing. Now this next thing is really, really interesting to me. The best dupe brand. And I'll explain why it's interesting in a second, because it's something that kind of confirmed some suspicions of mine. But before we do that, I need to give you guys the award for best freaking codes of the year. It's these right here, baby. You see, it's just a bunch of codes, man. Use them if you want. If you don't want to, don't use them. It's up to you. It's like Marco Pierre White. The choice is yours. There is no recipe. If you know, you know. But yeah, if you shop at any of those stores, Gift Express, JOMASHOP, etc., Fragrance Lord, use those codes, save yourself some cheddar. Best dupe brand, best clone brand. Now, I've said this in a few videos this year, but it really feels like clone brands, especially this year, but last year as well, have just gotten more and more and more popular. And it makes sense why when you think about it. Obviously, they're gonna be really affordable compared to designer brands and especially niche brands. And prices keep rising, like on everything, like literally everything. And so if you can get a fragrance that is extremely high quality, especially for the price point that you're paying, because a lot of these are like $30, some are less, but if you can get that, then it's a win-win, because you can smell amazing, and the presentation on some of these is actually really good as well. Some are super tacky, but a lot of them are good. And if you can scoop them for that price point, man, it just makes you feel better, because you didn't have to go into debt. You didn't have to spend, you know, like this new one, this new Dolce & Gabbana, $190, right? Now I like how it smells. It smells great to me, but after tax, $200. If you shop for a clone fragrance, you can get, you know, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. You can get almost 7 fragrances for the same amount. So that's why the popularity on these just keeps skyrocketing. And if everything stays as it is, it's just gonna keep getting more and more popular. Anyway, there's a lot to unpack here. If you go back 5 years, which I know it's a long time, but 5 years, 4 years, maybe just 3 years, but 5 years for sure. Pretty much everybody would be like, the kings of the castle are Armaf. And I'm not saying that they're not still huge, but you know, go back in time, everyone would be like, Armaf, the kings. They would be like, Lattafa, Rogba, that's kind of their thing. Rogba and Aldor, Al Maknoon Silver, stuff like that. They're whatever, they're fine. Fragrance World, people would be like, what is a Fragrance World? Afnan, people would know that. Rasasi, Haramain, Rayan Tradition, stuff like that. People would know, but Armaf would be the kings. Now let's look at right now in 2025. Number 1, Lattafa. And I know that's not really a surprise to anybody, but look at number 2, French Avenue, which is Fragrance World. And this is the crazy thing. French Avenue has far fewer downvotes than Lattafa. And when you take that into consideration, is almost like right there with them. So it's basically Lattafa and French Avenue at the top, and a big gap, and then Afnan at number 3, and then Armaf below Afnan. And here's the thing, Armaf has fewer upvotes than Afnan, but more downvotes than Afnan. And they are just ahead of Paris Corner. And I've said this before, when it comes to Paris Corner, I feel like they are sometimes the most inconsistent of the big clone houses. And it's just really random. It's like sometimes I get a Paris Corner fragrance and I'm like, oh, this stuff is great. Other times I'm like, oh God. And it just feels like that happens more often with them. And then Rasasi is in 6th. But for all intents and purposes this year, Rasasi just became the Hawass company. Some of them were really good, some were not that good, but they're just slamming the Hawass. And it's like, guys, you can do like more stuff. After Hawass, Codlage, which is like the TikTok special, Maison Alhambra, which is, you know, essentially Lattafa. Rayhan actually has come up a lot. More recently, actually, Rayhan kind of turned the corner, I feel like, this year, because they had a lot of stuff that was not that hot and then got better and better. And then Haramain, way down there, just ahead of Zara, which shows just how much things have changed and how quickly in the whole clonosphere. Some of these houses that you would go back and be like, oh, they're monstrous. They fell off because they didn't keep up while all these other ones were coming out with stuff. And this is something totally separate, but it's almost like Chanel. I know you're like, what are you even talking about? What are you smoking? You ripped a fat line before you said that. Chanel has been sitting on their hands as far as men's fragrances for a long, long time. And then they finally came out with Super Leggera, which was like ultra limited. And then they came out with the New Bleu de Chanel. And you would think, oh, that New Bleu de Chanel is gonna dominate the airwaves the entire year. Not really. It's like number 10 or 11 on the most popular fragrances of the year on Fragrantica, and also just did not get as much excitement behind it as you would have expected. And I think part of that is because Chanel has kind of weighted back and they've been like, we're Chanel, we don't have to do anything. And then year over year, their sales of fragrances have started to actually dip. If you look at the actual real sales numbers, they've dipped like double digits across almost all their releases. And part of the reason is that they think like, well, we don't have to do anything. F you guys, we do what we want. And while they took that attitude, a lot of other brands were like, okay, cool. Well, we're gonna try to scoop a lot of market share from you by releasing this and this and this and this and this and this, and trying to figure out what we can do differently to appeal to people instead of just popping out another blue fragrance. And you can apply some of that to some of these houses, I feel like. And then further down, there's Arabiat, who really has just started to pick up like toward the end of this year. And then Parfums de Marly is there, so that's good. Good old PDM. So if you take stock of this, as of right now, #1 dupe brand in the world, Lattafa, followed by French Avenue, Afnan, Armaf, and Paris Corner, and Rasasi Hawass right after that. Now take stock of that, and over this next year, see how it shakes out, if it stays the same or if things rumble and change. Because I mean, Armaf is still a monster, right? Even though lately it's been mainly Odyssey releases. The next category, women's favorite men's fragrance. So only women are supposed to be able to vote on this, and it's for any year, any type of fragrance. I do find it slightly sus. So the winning fragrance right now, Parfums de Marly Altair. That makes sense, sure. People love the way that smells. Big compliment puller, good performance, great for fall and winter time. It makes sense. And you can maybe give some credit and say like, well, the ladies who are using Fragrantica, they're more savvy to fragrances, right? So they're probably not gonna put Sauvage or something like that, even though in real life, that might be one of the best ones. But they have at #2, the original Dior Homme Parfum. And I feel like there's a lot of guys changing their sex on Fragrantica to female so that they can vote on this. I'm pretty sure. Now listen, guys, the original Dior Homme Parfum is good. It's real good. But it is also generally not that type of fragrance that you're gonna have a multitude of women come forward and say, this is the sexiest thing I've ever smelled. You might get that here and there, sure, but it is a more particular scent. And even lovers of that fragrance, and I am one of them, should be able to admit that. So seeing that as the #2 most loved fragrance of all time, I don't know. Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum at #3, Tobacco Vanille at 4, Terre d'Hermès at 5, Stronger With You Intensely at 6, and then we get into some ambery type fragrances, MFK, Grand Soir, Dior Homme Intense, Jazz Club, and Louis Vuitton Imagination. So it is this weird mix of like fragrances that are very clearly scents that guys are way more into than women, and then like the occasional fragrance that women do really, really love. And I understand making this category. It makes sense. Like, what do the women love? But unfortunately, you can rig it pretty easily just by going in and being like, oh yeah, I'm a lady. I love me some Dior Homme Intense, a vote. What do I realistically think would win out of the ones that are up there toward the top nowadays? The PDM, that makes sense. Stronger With You Intensely, that one would make sense. And probably Louis Vuitton Imagination. Out of the top 10, I think those are the 3 more realistic ones. The other ones are more so dudes who are like, I like that, so I think the ladies like it too. And there's always like one bro who will come in and be like, no, dog, I wore Dior Homme Parfum and I got 36 compliments, dude. It's true. It's true. Okay. Which, to be fair, I did wear Boss Bottled Absolute to a big party, and it did really well. So, I mean, it's possible. What do we want to take a look at next here? How about the best fragrance of all time? Numero uno. So if you want to know what the true greatest men's fragrance ever to exist, and you want to wear it, you want to be the man, the dude. It's apparently Dior Homme Intense. Again, that is That's the answer. I think every single time that Fragrantica has run best fragrance of all time, that Dior Homme Intense is one, which to be fair, it's really good. And it cures testicular cancer. Just like keep that on the down low. Like don't tell people that, but that's definitely true. It's for sure. Just you have to spray it on the underside. And then what happens is it goes directly into the bloodstream and it kills the cancer cells. So that's number 1, Iris Powdery Creamy Balm, which I do love. Aventus, number 2. Terre d'Hermès, number 3. Big TDH. Number 3, Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. Naxos, number 5. La Nuit de l'Homme, Imagination, Dior Homme Parfum again. Le Male Parfum, and then Layton. Layton is like Boss Bottled if it went to private school. It is good though. It's kind of like the usual suspects here, you know? It's the stuff that you see quite often. And what strange overlap between the best men's fragrances of all time and the fragrances that women love most on men. It's so crazy that there's so much overlap there. Huh. Weird. And scrolling down on the best men's fragrances of all time, it is kind of a murderer's row. I mean, you go through there and it's like a lot of good stuff. Even going into the ones that are starting to get more downvotes than upvotes, like there's a lot of really good fragrances here. Some classics. If you go by Fragrantica though, Dior Homme Intense is always the best men's fragrance of all time. It wins every single time. So, and Naxos is winning best niche fragrance of all time, which has had a real big resurgence this past year. Naxos has like really come back into the fold, which is also kind of evident because so many different clone houses are doing clones of that fragrance this year. So it's kind of had like a rebirth. And of course, you don't really need to look at best iris for men because it's just Dior Homme Intense. Anything iris is automatically Dior Homme Intense. Just assume it. And let's finish real quickly with the freshest fragrance of the year because everybody wants to smell fresh. And the freshest fragrance of 2025, the number 1 freshie. Oh my God, if you want to just smell clean, put together, spring, summer, stunner, getting all the attention. You want La Selle DC from 2024. Couldn't go with L'Eau DC Eau de Parfum. You know, that came out this year. That would make sense. No, La Selle DC. So we can't count that because that's 2024. Number 2 right now as of when I'm filming this video, Eros Energy 2024. And number 3 is Light Blue. So technically that would be the actual 2025 winner, just the new version of Light Blue that they popped out. And to be fair, it's not the exact same. You know, it's a reformulation of Light Blue. But if you don't count that, then Acqua di Parma would somehow win in 4th place with Buongiorno. But technically that is Unisex. So we keep moving. Super Leggera, which is also 2024. So we keep moving. Myself Absolute, the actual winner, because that one is made and marketed toward men and actually came out in 2025. Although low-key, I think maybe it should just go to the Acqua di Parma. Unisex, sure, but like realistically it leans masculine, so maybe we just go with Acqua di Parma. Because after that, you just start getting hit with 2024 fragrances again. Still think that's how the Oscars should be, you know? Should just be like, movie of the years. That one came out in February of 2024. Is pretty good. Everything in 2025 sucks. 2024 rules. F you guys. So there it is, boys. There's some of the best fragrances you ever gonna hear about, according to the Fragrantica community. Let me know what you feel about this wonderful selection of fragrances. Let me know what you feel about the changing of the guard as it pertains to designer houses. Some of them are very much on the upswing, some are on the downswing. Same thing with some of these clone houses as well. It's one of these deals where sometimes if you're really into anything, tech, games, music, fragrances, whatever, in like the short term, it feels like everything is the same as it's always been. But if you take a step back and you start taking a look at what's actually happening around, you'll be like, oh, there are some seismic shifts going on. There are some fragrance houses that have been lords of the castle for decades who are going to have to, in the near future, start changing what they're doing, or else they risk becoming less relevant because some of the other ones are nipping at their heels. And we're kind of living through that right now. I want to thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.